There's a Chinese version of Cinderella where she just wants to go to the theater. She gets killed and put together with kitchen parts. This girl is messy and angry and unapologetically vengeful. It's called Beauty and Pock Face. Our main character is named Beauty because she's beautiful, and she has a younger sister named Pock Face because she's got pock marks all over her face. Beauty is the daughter of the first wife who has died, and Pock Face is the daughter of the newer, younger wife who is preferred and gets spoiled because of that. After Beauty's mom died, though, she turned into a yellow cow that lived in their garden, and so Beauty always gets to go and hang out with her and talk to her. So one day the stepmom is taking Pock Face to the theater, and our girl wants to go, and she's like, "You can if you straighten all the hemp in my room." This is a horrible, difficult task, and so our girl bursts into tears, but then remembers, oh, the cow, and she takes it to the cow, and the cow swallows the hemp, and then spits it out all arranged nicely, piece by piece. And so our girl goes back to the stepmom and says, "Hey, can I go now?" And she's like, no, you need to do another task. This time she has to separate sesame seeds from beans, which is very similar to Cinderella stories from all over, like the German Grimm one, where it has to be ashes from lentils. Sometimes it's like rice from some other tiny grain. Anyway, the cow helps her again, and then the stepmom is like, "How did you get this done?" And she just tells her, "Oh, my cow mother helped me." Therefore, without saying a word, the mom killed and ate the cow. Beauty, of course, can't bring herself to eat the cow, so she takes the bones and puts them in a jar in her room. So they not only don't take Beauty to the theater that day after day, they go see shows, and they will never take her. So one day, Beauty's so fed up with it, this is a direct quote, she was so cross she smashed everything in the house, including the earthenware pot containing the cow bones. But when she smashes that pot, suddenly a brand new dress, a white horse, and a pair of embroidered shoes came out. Like, from the Magic Mom cow bones. Beauty puts on the dress, gets on the horse, and immediately heads to the theater, because that is all our girl wants to do, is see a dang show. Now, on the way, one of her shoes falls off into a ditch, and it says that she just cannot dismount to go get it. Doesn't say why. She needs someone to get the shoe for her. So a fishmonger comes by and she's like, "Hey, go get me my shoe, will ya?" And he's like, if you marry me." And she's like, "No, fishmongers smell like fish." And he's like, "All right," so he doesn't get the shoe. Next, a rice broker comes by. She asks him to get the shoe. He says, "I will if you'll marry me." And she goes, "No, rice brokers are always covered with dust." So he doesn't get it for her either. The same thing happens with an oil merchant who is, of course, always greasy. But then a scholar shows up and he again says, "I'll get you the shoe if you marry me." And the scholar was very handsome, so she agrees, and he gets her the shoe. They go home and get married. I guess she doesn't care about the theater anymore. He's that hot. So she's just living a great life with her husband, but decides to go visit her family and like say goodbye. And while she's with them, they pretend to be all nice to her, but then her stepsister, Pock Face, takes her to the well and she's like, "Let's look in the well and see which one of us is more beautiful." Which sounds kind of dumb because it seems like the world has decided by calling her Beauty and the other one Pock Face. But Beauty looks inside, and so she pushes her in the well, covers it with a basket, she drowns and dies in the well. After 10 days, the scholar is finally, "Where's my wife?" and sends a message to the mom and stepsister, and they write one back and they're like, "Oh, she has smallpox, so she's gonna stay with us for a while." And he like sends her salted eggs and sickbed delicacies, which of course the sister just eats herself. After 2 months, it says the stepmom is just so irritated with him sending all these letters that she decides to deceive him by saying Pock Face is his wife, which kind of works because she's got all the pocks. And when she shows up and she's like, "I'm your wife, Beauty," he's like, "Oh my God, what happened to your face?" She's like, "Duh, the smallpox." And he's like, "Okay." However, if you're familiar with fairy tales, you might have guessed that Beauty is not dead. She has turned into a bird, a sparrow. So one day while Pock Face and the husband are sitting around and Pock Face is combing her hair, the sparrow lands on their windowsill and she says, "Comb once, comb twice, comb thrice to the spine of Beauty." And somehow this lets the husband know that, oh, I think that bird is my real wife. He literally says to the bird, "Hey, if you're my wife, call out 3 times and I'll put you in a golden cage and I'll keep you as a pet." And so she does, and he does. This, of course, infuriates Pock Face, though. So she kills the sparrow and throws it in the garden, but then its body turns into a bamboo tree. Every time Pock Face eats the bamboo shoots, her tongue has ulcers that form on it, but the scholar always thinks they taste good and it doesn't do anything bad to him. Pock Face figures out that it's her sister, so she has the tree cut down and made into a bed, but she can never sleep comfortably on the bed even though her husband can, so she just throws the bed out. Then this old woman comes by and she's like, I wonder why they threw out the bed, because no one's died, because it was a tradition to get rid of like the bed and furniture of a dead person. So she's like, this bed's good, I'm taking it home. Now, when the bed is in her house, someone mysteriously starts cleaning and cooking for her whenever she's out, which is what transformed maidens always do in these stories, because like, what are women gonna do? They're gonna cook and clean. The old woman sneaks home one day early to see who's doing this, and it's a shadow, which is kind of cool. And the shadow's like, I am Beauty, the scholar married me, but then my sister killed me. The old woman's like, oh my God, what can I do for you? Because, you know, she's just an insubstantial shadow and doesn't have a body. So Beauty says, please give me a rice pot as a head, a stick as a hand, a dishcloth as entrails, and fish hooks as feet, and then I will resume my former shape. And so the old woman puts all that stuff together, and she suddenly, poof, becomes a real-looking girl with dish rag organs. So Beauty goes back to her husband and says, look, I'm alive, I'm back in my body, and he's super overjoyed and just brings her in. But Pockface wants to stay the only wife. So she's like, all right, I'm gonna make some tests to tell who is the true wife. And Beauty's like, cool, I'll do it. The first test is for both of them to walk on eggs, and whoever breaks them is the imposter. And our girl walks on the eggs and doesn't even break them. But of course, Pockface does. But instead of admitting her loss, she insisted on another trial. And this one is that they have to climb a ladder made of knives. And of course, our girl is fine, but Pockface cuts her feet and hands up, because yeah. The last task that Pockface comes up with is to jump into a cauldron of hot oil. And she's like, well, Beauty has to go first and she'll just die and then I'll win. But Beauty jumps in and she's magically fine. Then Pockface has to jump in and she boils alive and dies. So Beauty put the roasted bones of the wicked sister into a box and sent them to her stepmother by a stuttering old servant woman. The servant woman is told to just straight up say, this is your daughter's flesh. But it's somehow because of her stuttering, the stepmother thinks she says carp flesh. So she opens the box all excited to eat the carp, but then sees the charred bones of her daughter and then lets out a piercing scream and also falls down dead. The end. You might notice this has some similarities with a few other Asian Cinderella stories, particularly the ending with sending the dead body of the boiled stepsister to the stepmom. That can also be seen in Tam and Cam, the Vietnamese version. The cycles of reincarnation happen in that version too, and also in the most popular Chinese version of Cinderella, Ye Xian. But I just love how savage and real Beauty is in this story, and I love that she just wanted to go to the theater. I hope eventually she got to just see a nice play.